Hi guys, Reverend Crystal Cox here, and I'm going to read to you today a little bit something that I'm working on, kind of a lifetime sort of deal. Do you guys know about Moldavite? Google it. Moldavite. Amazing. Okay. This book is called Acceptance of What Is. It's a huge challenge for me in my life. It's been to accept what is. Okay, because I've had different times in my life where you know how, okay, for example, you've been madly in love with someone and they've said all these things, you've had this connection, and then all of a sudden it stops and it changes and you tend to obsess possibly or live in the past of like remembering that moment and wanting that moment back. Instead of saying, you know, that moment was beautiful and I felt that, I see things I might want, future relationships that are like that, and things that I might not, and it's cool, move on, because what is. But no, many of us tend to just pick the good things out, even if there weren't a lot of them, and make them kind of the highlight. And now this could be about jobs, this could be, you know, health, this could be anything at all. But anyway, accepting what is. So, this book says Accepting What Is, a book about nothing. Wayne Lickerman. That's kind of a weird name. Sorry, I didn't say that. Okay, look at this picture. Isn't that cool? I like that one. So, would you rather that I read like I usually do with, you know, just the black screen? Alright. We're going to start. Okay, I'll read you a couple of buyer beware. This is just a little poem. It says, just sit there. Just sit there right now. Don't do a thing. Just rest. I can't do that. For your separation from God is the hardest work in the world. Let me bring you trays of food and something that you like to drink. You can use my words as a cushion for your head. Written by Hafiz. H-A-F-I-Z. Okay. I'll play it first and tell you what it is later. Miles Davis. Truth disappears in the telling of it. Lawrence Durrell. We start then with nothing, pure zero. But this is not the nothing of negation, for not means other than, and other is merely a synonym of the ordinal numeral second. As such it implies a first, while the present pure zero is prior to every first. The nothing of negation is the nothing of death, which comes second to or after everything. But this pure zero is the nothing of not having been born. There is no individual thing, no compulsion, outward nor inward, no law. It is the germinal nothing in which the whole universe is involved or foreshadowed. As such, it is absolutely undefined and unlimited possibility, boundless possibility. There is no compulsion and no law. It is boundless freedom. Charles S. Peirce, Logic of Events, 1898. Alright, chapter 1 is called Buyer Beware. I might just browse this one, we'll see. Truth disappears in the telling of it. For those of you who are hearing me for the first time, I want to emphasize that nothing I say is the truth. I make no claim whatsoever that one word coming out of my mouth is the truth. I like this. This guy is good. Now, I'm not unique in this. None of the teachers that you've either read or heard are speaking the truth. Truth can't be spoken. All of these words, all of these concepts are simply pointers, indicators of a truth that is right here, that is ever present, as clear and as unmasked as it could possibly be. Ramana Maharshi used the image of a concept as being like a thorn that is used to remove some other thorn that is, let's say, embedded in your foot. So you have a thorn, which is some concept about how things are, and it is embedded in you. The sage comes and uses another concept in the hopes of removing that embedded concept with this second concept. If the embedded concept is removed, both concepts become superfluous. Yeah, I don't pronounce everything right, but it's a good time. They get discarded. The thorn that's been utilized to remove the other thorn has no intrinsic value. After it has done its job, you don't wax rhapsodic over what a great thorn it was. Its value is only used as a tool. Raman Maharishi's big thorn was, ask yourself, who am I? Who are you? What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to be doing? What's your bliss? Ask yourself, who's asking the question? Ask yourself, who wants to know? Sounds like you're having a bit of an argument with yourself. That was his thorn of choice, if you will. In the hands of the master, in a specific moment, in a specific application, when he would identify intuitively what the seeker coming to him needed, he would utilize this concept. Okay, that's at Bringing Back God Church, we're going to have, like, I do intuitive consulting, and I've never called myself a psychic. I've always been highly intuitive, and I do spiritual advising based on what it is that the person needs to hear. Basically kind of working through their guides and angels and their higher self and telling them what maybe they're not hearing in meditation, or they can't slow their life down enough to say it. And so I like that it's intuitively what the seeker is coming to him that the seeker needs. Later, some of the people sitting around watching him and listening to him would say, remember that fellow who came and asked a question and Bhagwan said, who wants to know? And when Bhagwan said that, you could see in the face of that fellow that it cut right to the quick of the matter. That in that instant he saw what a magical, wondrous, fantastic tool this is. So you go and you see some person and you ask them some question and they look back at you and they say, who wants to know? Then you have to examine, well, who am I? Why do I want to know? You know, and give yourself a title and give yourself who are you? Why do you want to know? You're identifying yourself with I am. I am. So they go away, and one day they overhear someone complaining about the confusion that arises in the seeking. And they say, you're confused. So who is confused? Laughter. Who thinks they're confused? Some more laughter. And chances are very good that if you have been wandering around in spiritual circles of late, you've run into lots of people with knowing smirks on their faces who are asking, so who wants to know? That's so cool, because it's like, if you're depressed and you're down and you're feeling lonely, you're like, well, who's lonely? Who is it that's feeling lonely? Who am I? Who's asking the question? Is the emotion that I'm feeling outside of me? Do I control that emotion? My thoughts are creating the emotion, right? Who am I? So, who wants to know? Who's asking the question, huh? As if this is some kind of magic incantation. Laughter. And of course it isn't. It's just another tool, another concept. It is as if you were watching a brain surgeon. You sit in the operating theater and you watch him take his scalpel and make an incision. And he makes another incision and cuts through the cranium and the brain is exposed. Ew. He takes the scalpel and makes another tiny little incision over here. And he sews the patient back up. And amazingly, the patient is healed. It's fantastic. So you watch again. You peer down into the operating theater and you see him cut through there and make a little incision there. Then he puts the scalpel down and goes off. You sneak down and you steal the scalpel. Ha ha ha. Now you have the scalpel. You can now go and do brain surgery. You have the healing instrument, and one day you run across somebody who has the exact symptoms as the guy who just was on the operating table, and you say, hey, I can help you out, lie down. This is getting a little bit ridiculous. You apply this tool, this magic scalpel, in approximately the same place that you saw the surgeon apply it, and there's a good chance you're going to make a mess. It's not going to be good. Because this is a tool, all of these concepts, every single one of these concepts is simply a tool. And as long as you can remember the fact that these are merely tools, merely pointers, you'll save yourself a whole lot of trouble. Generally, by the time you've gotten here, you've read a lot. You've been to a lot of teachers, you've absorbed a vast number of concepts, and many of them are contradictory. How do you reconcile what this teacher said with what that teacher said? See, that's very interesting, and that's very, you know what's right for you, right? You know what it is that feels good to you when you read information. You get like this in your gut if something feels wrong. If it feels wrong, that is wrong for you. You learn more and more to trust your intuition. And a lot of spiritual books have really good information. It doesn't mean all of it's true for you, and it doesn't mean all of it's true. You have to just, read it and trust what feels right to you. Because this is just another tool, another way. Like all denominations, there's tools in Buddhism, there's tools in pagan, there's tools in Christian, and it's all about you being a better you and helping to raise the vibration of Mother Earth and her people, helping to heal the planet and to do things here that are of the greater good and, the reason that we came here, all of us as light workers. Okay, let's see. How do you reconcile what this teacher said with what that teacher said? I mean, you've sat with this teacher. You know that this person is a genuine teacher. There's no question of him scamming you. And yet he's saying something that is utterly and completely different from what that one over there is saying. How do you reconcile these? The way you reconcile them is to understand that neither of them is true. So it isn't a matter of choosing which one is true. It's just recognizing that neither one of them are true. From that standpoint, it makes it a lot easier. Those concepts are applicable only in the moment, and their real usefulness is revealed when they are in the hands of the sage. Okay, chapter 2. There are no whole truths. All truths are half-truths. It is trying to treat them as whole truths that plays the devil. Alfred North Whitehead. You like your truth abstract enough to be palatable. Rawness sticks in your throat. You prefer the soaring poetry of what is coming to the pedestrian presence of what's here and now. Ram Tzu. If 50 million people say a foolish thing, it is still a foolish thing. Right on. Anatole France. Ultimately, all attempts at discussing truth leave you sounding like a fortune cookie. Ram Tzu. The great enemy of the truth is very often not the lie, deliberately contrived and dishonest, but the myth, persistent, persuasive, and unrealistic. John Fitzgerald Kennedy. All right, chapter 2 is called Teachings. The basics. All there is consciousness. Consciousness is all there is. The rest of this book is just variations on that theme, though even that is only a pointer. That is not the truth. The truth cannot be spoken. That is a concept. A fairly elegant one, as concepts go, but a concept nonetheless. This truth that is being pointed at is a truth that is beyond the capacity of the mind to understand, because the mind is a divisive tool. The mind's job is to compare, or as Ram Tzu would say, what does Ram Tzu say? First, you use your mind as the ultimate jigsaw. You take totality and cut it up into a million tiny pieces. Then, having tired of that game, you sit down and try to reassemble this jumble of pieces into something comprehensible. Ram Tzu knows God invented time just so you could do this. That is the game of the mind. And though the mind is not suited to the job of understanding truth, it is the mind that is employed by the seeker on this path of Jnana, Jnana, or knowledge. The mind is set to the task of finding out what it is. That is a task tantamount to standing in your own boots and lifting yourself by your bootstraps. I don't like picking myself up by my own bootstraps. And the teacher exhort you to lift harder. You must be more earnest in your lifting. Lift, lift, lift. This path of knowledge requires a transcendent transcendence of the mind. And that can only happen when the mind is utterly, thoroughly, completely exhausted. After you have sought every possible avenue into which you might inquire and know, after you have thought again and again you've got it, only to find it slip through your fingers like jello, only then can there possibly be some kind of surrender, some kind of acceptance of the fact that the mind will not get you there. So I guess we're overthinking spirituality, right? Overthinking our relationship to God, to Goddess. And it isn't enough to just pay lip service to the fact of the mind isn't going to help, the mind isn't going to know it. That is something the mind knows. That's the new truth that you're holding sacred. It gets subtler and subtler. That which you think you know gets subtler and subtler. It's really a process very much like a dog chasing its tail. Your mind is set in motion, seeking itself, chasing itself, trying to catch itself. And if you have a mind that is strong, that has a lot of intellect behind it, you can get spinning really, really fast. And you can catch up. You can gain on yourself. And the faster you get spinning, the closer you gain on yourself, and perhaps, if there is grace, you will disappear up your own ass. Oh my God. It really said that. It's like spiritual boot camp. All right. And this describes the path of knowledge. Or Nana. Jnana. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I don't know what Veda or Sutra it is in. But that is essentially what you set out to do. To inquire deeply. To look at that which is asking the questions. To look at that which is seeking and to find out, is there any substance there? And it's not something that I can do for you. I can sit up here all day and talk about it, and if you trust me, which is dicey to begin with, then you'll say, he's telling the truth. What he's saying is valid. I believe him. But I'm not telling the truth. What I'm saying here is not the truth. At the very best, these are pointers toward the truth, toward that which is the source and the substance of everything. That consciousness which is all there is, that which is our true nature, that which we are. The next little section here is called the Nothing of Advaita. And Advaita is spelled A-D-V-A-I-T-A. This teaching is incredibly simple. There's nothing to it. Literally nothing to it. Of course, the nothing that we're talking about is the nothing of the Sufi fakir. Sorry, that struck me. It's spelled F-A-K-I-R. Who wanders into the highest court in the land. He plops down in the king's throne, and the chief minister walks up to him and he says, "What are you doing sitting there? Do you think that you're a minister of this court?" And the Sufi says, "Nah, I'm just a minister of this court." Sorry. "Nah, I'm not just a minister of this court. I'm more than that." The chief minister says, "Well, you're certainly not the chief minister. I'm the chief minister." The Sufi says, "No, I'm not the chief minister. I'm more than that." "What? Do you think you're the king? You're sitting in the king's throne." The Sufi says, "No, not the king. I'm more than the king." "More than the king? Do you think you're the emperor?" The Sufi says, "Nah, I don't think I'm the emperor. I'm much more than the emperor." "More than the emperor? Do you think you're God?" The Sufi says, "Nah, I don't think I'm God. I'm more than that." The chief minister was aghast. "More than God? There's nothing." The Sufi says, "Precisely. I'm that. Nothing." That's the nothing we're talking about. This was always one of my favorite stories from Ramesh. He told it all the time. And then one day somebody came in with a corollary story which goes with it well. I see it all the time as I travel around meeting spiritual people. The story is about a rabbi who goes into the sanctuary, opens the ark, and sees the Torah sitting there. he's overcome with the incredible beauty of it. So with emotion and with piety, he falls to his knees, looks up to heaven, and says, God, I'm nothing. I'm nothing. I am nothing. The second rabbi, the assistant rabbi, comes walking by the sanctuary and sees the chief rabbi on his knees in front of the ark, and he's so astonished and impressed by this display of piety that he too rushes up, falls to his knees next to the chief rabbi, and says, God, I am nothing. I am nothing. Now, I don't know how many Jews we've got here, but certainly on this Saturday morning, not any Orthodox ones. This is loud laughter in parentheses. Always in the temple, they have an employee who is not a Jew to do things around the temple on the Sabbath. So this fellow is walking by the sanctuary, and he sees the two rabbis in front of the ark, and he's so taken with their show of piety that he rushes down and he falls to his knees next to the two rabbis, and he shouts, God, I am nothing. I am nothing. And the first rabbi nudges the second rabbi and says, so, look who thinks he's nothing. We see this in Advaitic circles all the time. I don't exist. None of this is real. What I truly am is consciousness, delivered with just the right amount of conviction, the unreality, the unsubstantiality of this manifestation, which is so often pointed to by various teachers and sages, is a pointer. All of this is as real as you are. To paraphrase Ramana, I think he was asked, are all the gods and spirits real? And his response was, they're as real as you are. This manifestation, this phenomenal manifestation, is an aspect of the totality. It is not some kind of tragic mistake that you created in your ignorance. This entire incredibly rich, magnificent, beautiful, horrible, wonderful manifestation, all of it is an aspect of God, an aspect of the total. And it is unreal to the extent that it has no independent existence. It does not exist independently of this animating consciousness, but rather as an aspect of it. Anybody here have a Kleenex? Preferably an unused one. Thank you. I will now materialize, rolling up the Q-Tex into his hands and his palms and holding it between his fingers. This is consciousness, the source and the substance of everything. This is everything. Everything that ever was and will be. Consciousness is at rest. Consciousness not manifest. Consciousness without feature. Nothing. No thingness. Noumenon. Nothingness. Acceptance of what is. I'll read to you folks some more out of this again soon. God bless you all. Hope you're having a beautiful day.